Welcome to Real Talk with Sean, everybody. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Miss Ericka, whose son Major unfortunately passed away. I want to thank you so much for joining me today, Miss Ericka. I am so grateful that you accepted my invite.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. When did Major pass away?
He passed away on June 6th of 2022.
Oh, so going on 4 years in June.
Almost 4 years.
Well, I want to let you know, and I should have said this before I even started. You definitely have my condolences. I could never even imagine having to go through something like that, and most certainly will not say I know how it feels. What did he pass away from?
He had brain cancer.
This was something that progressed over time.
It did. Yeah, I did.
Tell us a little bit about Major. What would you like us to know and remember about him?
Mhm. Um, there's a lot to know about him. So he was 5 when he passed away. When we first found out he was 1, they found a brain tumor, and we had took him to the emergency room, and originally they didn't find it. It took I had to take him back after they sent us home, and he still was like, so my baby, he's very independent.
Mhm.
He was very independent. He always liked to like do his own thing, very content child. So my grandma used to keep him when I would go to work and stuff like that. So my grandma called me. She's like, "Hey, something's wrong with him because he just wants to be held." And he was such a mama's boy, and he loved me to hold him, but he also was very independent. So like other people holding him, he didn't really like that. So
Mhm.
my grandma was like, something's wrong with him. Like he just want to be held and he won't let me put him down. So I took him to the emergency room. They didn't find anything at first. And then I had to take him back because he was still wanting to be held and he would cry every time we would try to put him down and stuff like that. So I took him back like 2 days later, and then they found the brain tumor. They did like an x-ray and CAT scan and all that stuff, and then they found a brain tumor. But so my son went through that for 4 years until he passed away. But to know him is to definitely love him. Like all the surgeries he went through, he went through radiation. I never really did chemo, um, but we went through like radiation and hospital stays and hospital visits. And you're talking about resilient, like resilient. My son never ever cried about what was going on with him. Woke up in the hospital, he never cried. He would just wake up from like his surgeries and stuff and look around. And of course, I was always there. Like I never left him. When my son had to stay in the hospital, I did not leave. Like I stayed every single day, and he had to stay. Sometimes it was 30 days, 30 something days and stuff like that. And I stayed every day with my baby. So, I think just him waking up and seeing me there every day kind of gave him comfort.
Exactly.
He was always like happy. He was always like resilient, always funny, very content, mild mannered child. Like, even as a baby, like he never really cried or anything like that. So,
That's what's up. Like I seen him online, and it's funny because of course I didn't have the pleasure of meeting him, but I
mhm.
can tell that he was one funny little guy, and he
Yeah,
seemed really, like just look. He seemed like he had a big personality.
he did. He really did.
So I can. It's funny as you're talking, like I'm just picturing his cute little face, and I'm like, yeah, I can see that even through those videos. Like what she's saying, I believe that. Not that you will lie anyway, but it's like I from the videos. So,
Yeah.
I want to go back to when you said you initially went and they sent you all home.
Mhm.
So I had a interview with another mom whose son unfortunately, passed away as well. And they did the same thing. And I'm not saying that I don't want to say that not all hospitals, let me make that very clear, not all doctors. So I don't want to put people in a, everyone is an individual in a basket, but it appears just from those two conversations, and it happens to be two black moms, with two
Yeah.
Black children that they're just looking, doing the bare minimum, and then sending you home. So, how do you feel about them sending you home and then you having to take him right back? Because as a mother that pays attention, apparently, you knew no, it's more than this. They shouldn't have sent us home. How do you feel
Right.
about that?
Um, I really don't think that was the case in my case. I do feel like sometimes that is, but um the company that I work for, we have very good health insurance and my son was on my health insurance. So I don't really think that was the case. Like, they're Black. We're gonna just do something real quick and send them home. Because in most cases, like from doing like research and going through a lot of this with my son, going through CAT scans and like the machines, they're not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
As far because they do um, radiate. There's
They emit radiation.
rays and yeah, like stuff like that. So I don't think that was really the case. I think that they just try to prevent from doing that, especially because he was 1 years old. He was very small. So I think that they tried to prevent from doing that. Because when I did take him back, there was a mom. And I told her, I said, hey, we were here 2 days ago, but my son he's very small, like he's one,
Mm-hmm.
but his the way that he is usually he's not like that right now. So he's normally like even as a baby, he really didn't cry unless he was like hungry or something. So I'm like, my baby's crying, like he just wants to be held. Like there is something going on with him. And she was like, mom, she was like, yeah, you know your baby better than we do. She was like, so I'm gonna have a CAT scan. I'm gonna have them schedule him for a CAT scan and maybe do an X-ray like on his head or his body. And when they did it, they did find it. But in most cases, I do feel like, maybe that is
Mm-hmm.
something that does happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Going through that though, you do have to advocate for your kids. You do have to advocate for your child because it's your child and you know your child better than any doctor, any nurse, like anybody in the medical field, like your child better than they do. So yeah, of course, like most kids that come in there, they trying to, oh well, you know, I've seen this before. This is what the symptoms were, so I'm gonna, give you this prescription and it should work. Like sometimes it doesn't help.
Yeah.
So you have to actually know your child. You have to advocate for them because there was plenty of times where I had to advocate for my baby, even with people's energy. Like I'm real big on energy, and I'm like, yeah, no, she can't be here with my son because her energy is bad or her energy is off. So no.
When first of all, I like what you said, period, because I agree about advocating for your child. Like you definitely have to be that voice, because as you said, a mother knows their child, at least one that actually pays attention, and I'm going to say that a good parent. Uh,
Right.
they definitely pay attention. And I also, you mentioned something else earlier when we were speaking about them and Black kids. And I'm glad that that wasn't the situation with you all, because I'm pretty sure as a Black woman, you would know, yeah, I definitely felt that way. So it warms my heart to hear that that is not the case in major situation.
Yeah.
You mentioned something that's important as well that plays a part. I mean, it's sad, but it's just the world we live in, which is healthcare. And
Hmm.
so the fact that you said your insurance is good, because I do believe that when people have insurance that is not as good, and
Hmm.
speculate whatever you want
Right.
with
Right.
what that means, but it's true. Like they don't go
Yeah.
step above and beyond to make sure that you're okay when you don't have good health insurance, which is sad because you're kind of disposable in a sense.
Right.
So I'm glad to hear that, and I'm glad to hear that you definitely advocated for him. So I can imagine, but from your words, how did you feel when you first heard that it was cancer?
Um, Originally they didn't tell us it was cancer.
Mhm.
He had a brain tumor And then when he goes through surgery and they cut it out, then they have to test it to see if it's cancerous or not.
Hmm.
So originally they didn't tell us it was cancer. He had a brain tumor, but I was devastated. I mean, nobody wants to hear, you know, something like that about your 1 year old child. Like nobody wants to hear like, oh yeah, your baby has a brain tumor. Um, so I was devastated. I didn't know what to do, but I will say during the whole process, I believe in God. I'm a firm believer in trusting God and trusting, the things that God has for you. So all I could do, because you're helpless.
Hmm.
There's nothing you can do. There's nothing that you can do to change the situation. There's nothing I can do to remove the brain tumor or to remove the cancer out of my son's body. So all I could do is trust God and pray about it and just trust that, God knew what was going on and he knew that, whatever plans he had for myself and for my son.
Hmm. And that says a lot about faith, because it's blind faith. You just have to
It
put
is.
in and walk in that, because the moment, in a sense, you lose that, you lose hope.
You do.
So I can definitely understand that. Was there a time that you ever blamed yourself for what he was going through?
No.
That's what's up.
Mhm.
That's what's up. Because I'm pretty sure, a lot of parents out there would think, was there something I didn't do? Was there something I could have done? And I think that is really good because, you would that would be a huge part in healing. That
It
would
is.
allow you to heal because you would constantly be sitting there with that weighing you down, feeling as if you did that or had some type of contribution to it. So I'm glad to
Right.
hear that. When you said that you are a believer, so when he passed away, did you were you mad with God? Did you blame God for taking him at such a young age?
Um, I was disappointed. I was disappointed because I felt like I had, you know, I- we feel like there's things that we can do to make God, not make God, but to entice God to do things for us. We feel like, oh, if I just do this, then God will do that. So I was disappointed because I felt like I've done everything that I can, like to make sure that my son, you know, got treatment. And I at one point I quit my job and I was with my son. And I'm glad that I did do that. I'm glad that I quit my job because I didn't know that that was coming. But when my son did pass away, I wasn't working. Took I hadn't been working for like a year and a half. By the time my son passed away. So during that time, I was able to, we moved to another state to try and get treatment for him. I had took them on a road trip. We had been to like theme parks. So I felt like I was doing all I could do for my son. Just and it was that just in case it don't work out the way that I wanted to work out. I wanted to make sure I did everything that I could do as a mother to make sure that my son was happy. Because that's the thing too with illnesses and cancer and things like that. People get so distraught in the moment when you hear those words that that's all you can think about. All you can think about is how much time do I have or what can I do? And people get frustrated and people get mad and they get angry, but that it messes with your energy, it messes with your immune system, and people don't understand like when you get sad and you get frustrated, those things it messes up your mentals. It messes up your body, it messes up your immune system, it makes your immune system low. So that was one of the things that I wanted to make sure that my son, regardless of what happened, that made sure that I took care of him and I made sure that he felt loved and I made sure that he enjoyed his life. And to be honest with you, um I prayed like really, really hard. I fasted during the time that my son was like, going through the process. Um, I made sure that I protected my peace and my energy, and I protected him and his peace. So like I said, he never cried. Like he never really cried. The last 8 months that my son was alive, he was in a wheelchair. And before that, he had been a normal child, like walking, and he did have to go through therapy, but he was normal. And the last 8 months, he was in a wheelchair, and he never asked me why. Like he never asked like mom. And Major is very, very smart, very intelligent. Like any of my family or friends that whenever we talk about him, it's always talking like how he would talk to us because it was always so mature for his age.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah. So I think that you said something that is very important, and I want to say that like that I find very strong to say that you kept yourself because it doesn't mean you weren't hurting. It doesn't.
Right.
This is your son that you're going through this, and you already showed your love by quitting. You know what pays the bills. So you quit your job to make sure you were there for your son. So clearly she loved her son. That does not mean that you have to allow yourself to break in that moment because he needed you to be strong.
Right.
Find that very strong of you, that you kept yourself in a good mental space and did not, like you said, when people hear the word cancer, it's like, oh, it's death. But you kept
Right.
yourself
Right.
in a good mental space that what's going to be is going to be. Clearly, we know that. But you need to be there right now. We need to do what we can while he's here, and I have to be in a clear mindset to make sure that he's good because it's about him. So I think that that was very strong of you. I heard you mention them. You took them on a road trip, if I'm not mistaken. I think I heard
Mhm.
I have an old brain, so I may not. But you said them. Do you have any other children?
I do. I have my son, he's 19 now. Then he was 15.
How did first? How did that did do you feel from your perspective? Because I'm not speaking to him. How do you feel Major's passing away affected him?
It affects him. Boys, they don't really like to show when they're hurting or when they're crying. But he has came to me a couple times and, Mom, I'm just thinking about Major. And um when he passed away, I asked him, I said, are you okay? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, are you sure? And he said, yeah, because he wasn't like crying or anything. Like he had a few tears like at the funeral and stuff like that, but he didn't really cry. So I asked him if he was okay. And he said, Mom, he said, Major didn't Major didn't cry, so why should I? And I was like, wow.
Exactly. Like that's all.
Yeah.
How did Major's death affect your parenting with your older son? Because a lot of parents like they are in their grieving state,
Mhm.
so they kind of forget about the other child in a sense. They think they're being there, but I'm grieving the death of one. I don't even know how to be there for you.
Right. My older son is very and honestly both of my boys were very independent. So um I don't I don't think that there was ever a point where I neglected him per se. And I would talk to my son. Like I have a good relationship with my son. So I do talk to him. I talk to him about what's going on in his life and, what he's thinking and how he feels and things like that. Um, but again, I prayed really, really hard. I prayed for God to give me peace. I prayed for God to give me strength. I prayed for me to love my kids and especially my older son because there's so much going on in the world that sometimes they get disrespectful and um they want to follow their friends. But my son, he's not like that. He's not like that. He's home most of the time. He don't really run the streets or anything. So I did spend a lot of time with both of them. But I also spent time with my older son, like doing things with just him and, just talking to him and things like that. So when Major did pass away, I would still do that with him. I would still, just me and him, do things. And he was driving and stuff like that. So I would let him drive and we would go out and we would go out to eat and we would talk about Major and different things like that. So
That's what's
I
up.
think for both of us, it was pretty much bringing us closer. Because my older son is he's very mature too. Um, but when Major came along, Major showed me affection. I felt like on my older son, I was tougher.
Mhm.
But when Major came along, it was that, Mommy, I want you to hug me. Mommy, I want a kiss. Mommy, like I want to, my son never slept in his bed. Like he was 5 when he passed away, and he
I
never
don't
slept in
blame
his
you. Hey, as
bed.
long as I can have you, I'll have you right here. I don't blame you. My girls are the same or were the same. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a good
Yeah.
fit. That's what's up. With the tumor, so they found out through a CAT scan, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they did surgery, and then after the surgery, they said that it was cancerous.
They told us they had to test it to find out if it was cancer. And then um they told us when if it comes back, because 99% of the, well, 70% of the time it doesn't come back. So there's a 30% chance that it would. So if it came back, then it was cancerous. And then they send it off to test it, but it takes time for them to test it. So my son, he went into remission for 2 years, and then it came back. It did come back
Oh,
a second time, and then the second time when it came back, it spread. So originally when they found the tumor, it was like in the back of his head, and then when it came back the second time, it was in the back, and then it had also spread to his spine.
hence the
So
fact that I'm in the wheelchair.
actually no.
Oh,
So
so it ended. So it spread it from the back of his head and started to travel down his spine.
mhm,
Okay,
yeah.
so that is that a like 100% like if they do the surgery, as far as I mean, I know you're not a doctor, but as far as what they told you, like so if they do the surgery, take the tumor out, and it comes back, it's definitely cancer.
Yeah, it's cancerous. Because it spreads too. It
Okay.
also spreads. So the thing about tumors and things like that is when they go in to get the cancer out, or the tumors out, that spreads in your body because it breaks up into little pieces. There's no way that they can get it all out, which is why people have to do like radiation and chemo and stuff like that. So it breaks up, and then it has the possibility of spreading.
When did he end up in a wheelchair, and what actually led to him being in a wheelchair?
So when it came back the second time, it spread to his spine. He did go through surgery again, and they got it. They did the surgery and they took it out of his brain, and then um, they took it from his back also. So he had to go through therapy and go through like learning how to walk again and stuff like that. But it came back a third time. So when it came back a third time, that they told us it was nothing they can do, and especially with his spine because it had came back. They couldn't really go in because your spine, from my understanding, is like very very thin and very fragile, basically.
Mhm.
That if they keep going in and they dig, it will permanently mess up his spinal cord. So they didn't want to go in and do it again, and they didn't want to go into his brain again, which we didn't allow them to go and do a surgery on his brain the third time because they told us it was going to keep coming back. So it's like, I'm not going to put my son through having surgery again a third time, and then you're telling me it's just going to keep coming back. So at
And
that point, we just chose not to.
do anymore. So
Yeah,
do they? So do they know why it just keeps coming back?
cancer. It's cancerous. So that's why I kept coming back because it was cancerous. And then I guess I can't right now. I can't think of the name of it. I do have it all written down, which I should have got my binder. But um, there's a name for it, and it's very rare. Like it's a very rare cancer. So um, they said they normally find it in kids under 5.
Wonder, like stuff like that. I like science and I wonder why. Like, and then they pinpoint it in children under 5.
Right.
Makes me just question. But I mean, I could go along. My mind could just go in vast places to figure out why. Is it the what do you call it? When vaccinations that kids get? Like what?
Yeah. Yeah.
It just makes you want to know why.
Exactly.
So
And I feel like sometimes those are the things that you think about as a parent when stuff like this happen. It's like I don't blame myself, but it's like, do those things play a part in, because all of our bodies are different. All of our bodies are different, and everybody's body can't take the same thing. So us doing these vaccinations and all these things, and then it's required for them to go to school and all
exactly.
that stuff. So it's like those things, because we're not supposed to be putting those things in our bodies.
It was never around.
It was never around before.
It just
So
there has to be some correlation with
exactly.
to me. There's no way that it just enters if it's not genetic. It's not in your DNA.
Right.
I mean, if they didn't say that, it's just which leads me, as you feel the same way, to thinking it has to something to do with these vaccinations or something that we're getting, and the fact that it happens to be in that specific age
Right.
bracket when they're getting those. That's a new
I
one.
do. I do. I feel like the vaccinations, the things that we put into our bodies, the food, because like nowadays it's the world population is so big that they're trying to grow the food so fast. So all of that is a part. I feel like all of that is a part of why we get cancer. There's so many things
Yeah,
that give us cancer. Like now the lotions and the
I
body
know.
sprays and the soaps and all those things give us cancer now. So it's like you just don't know. And a a a large amount of the time, like after I did find out that my son had cancer, we did change like his diet and different things like that. But again, a lot of those things, because I made him go, we did pescatarian at one point, and then we went vegan at one point. But even those things
Yep. Yep.
don't they play a big part in it, because you're changing your diet, but you also are making your body deficient of certain things. So like sugar is not good for you. That's the number one killer, which I found out, of course, from going through this with my son. That's the number one killer of us, and we don't know that putting those things in our body is a big part of why we get sick, and why we
That's
get colds all the time, and people not working out and not taking care of our bodies. But I put my son on a vegan diet, and then he loved eating rice, right?
Mhm.
I didn't think nothing of it.
I know it. I know it's not good. That's my favorite too. But go
I
ahead.
did. It's carbs. It breaks down the
Yeah, it
sugar.
is. Yep.
Sugar is not good for cancer. At the time, I didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah.
But I found out from, over time of trying certain things and doing certain things for him that, okay, this is not good. But what can you do with the 3 or 4 year old,
Right.
that he had a normal life before that? He's been eating chicken nuggets and McDonald's and,
Exactly.
all these things. And now you got to cut back and change his diet. And then I was doing like, certain foods like on a vegan diet, and my baby love rice. Like I'm
Mhm.
like, he already can't eat all the other stuff. Now I got to take rice away from him. Like we just can't win.
To me, that again shows a mother's love. Has no boundaries because it's like, all right, at this point, I'm going to do everything I can. If not, well, hopefully to keep him here, of course, but if not, to prolong his life and give him the best quality of life that
Right.
he has left on this earth. And so you like jumped into action trying to figure out anything you can do to try and counteract what the cancer would do to him and ultimately did do to him. Now I hear, so he died. He actually passed away from cancer.
From brain cancer. Hmm.
How long did he go through like chemo? No, I'm sorry. You did not do chemo. How long did he go through radiation, and why did you choose not to do chemo, or did the doctors say not chemo?
I chose to do radiation because they said that from him having surgery and them going in, it breaks up parts of the tumor, and then it does have a chance of being some remaining pieces in his body. So radiation is heat basically. So it's supposed to kill those cells that's in there. Chemo, I felt like it was very toxic. So I didn't from a lot of people that did chemo, people don't have a good quality of life to
Hmm.
me. So I just didn't want to put my son, and we did. I did. I'm not gonna say I didn't do chemo because we did. Like at one point, I they gave me like the medicine and stuff. I'm like, okay, of course, I'm gonna try to do everything that I can for my son. And they gave me the medicine for my son. When they gave me the medicine for my son, I had to put on gloves. I had to put on a gown. I had to put on a mask. I had to put on goggles. And to me, in that moment that I had to do that, I'm like, here I am trying to protect myself from all of this, but I'm going to give this to my son to put in his body.
Like clearly, I'm sorry, guys. Like that just said a lot. If you have to suit up and go through all those measures, but then put that in your child's system,
Right.
that right there, I mean, that's just crazy. Like,
Yeah.
and then even the fact that you said they gave you the meds, so which says that medicine I know has come a long way. I battled cancer myself, ovarian cancer, and it's funny when I went through chemotherapy. I was just in the hospital and I was, attached to bags, which at the time I didn't even know chemo. I didn't even really know what it meant. I was only 19 at the time. And so, but now you literally can go home with a pill or
Yes.
whatever form that they gave you this in. So, what form of medicine was majored, which were you giving him? That couldn't have been just a pill.
It was a pill. It was a pill, but it was the capsule. So you had to take the pill apart and it turns into powder. And I had to put it into like apple juice for him.
But you have to
And
up and do all of the, it's that toxic.
that toxic. Yeah.
And then I'm supposed, but we all know that chemo kills good cells as
And
well. Like,
exactly.
like you said, the quality of life, it's like a lot of people, because of chemo, they're like, you know what, just let me go. Especially when you
Yeah.
do it already. It's like, I don't want the chemo because the time that I have left, I'm going to be spent sick as hell.
Right, exactly. And I didn't want that for my son. I did the radiation because, like I said, they said it kills the cells. And the only thing about that was he lost his hair at one point from going through radiation. And there was like to us, it looked like burns on his body, but to him, he couldn't feel it, you know. But as far as like his quality, he didn't really deteriorate or anything like that, or like have bad days with that. So I was okay with that.
Exactly.
Had my son had bad days with that, I probably wouldn't have did that either.
To me, that again shows a mother's love, has no boundaries because it's like, all right, at this point, I'm going to do everything I can. If not, well, hopefully to keep him here, of course, but if not, to prolong his life and give him the best quality of life that
Right.
he has left on this earth. And so you like jumped into action trying to figure out anything you can do to try and
Mhm.
counteract what the cancer would do to him and ultimately did do to him. Now I hear, so he died, he actually passed away from cancer.
From brain cancer. Hmm.
How long did he go through like chemo? No, I'm sorry, you did not do chemo. How long did he go through radiation, and why did you choose not to do chemo, or did the doctors say not chemo?
I chose to do radiation because they said that from him having surgery and them going in, it breaks up parts of the tumor, and then it does have a chance of being some remaining pieces in his body. So radiation is heat basically. So it's supposed to kill those cells that's in there. Chemo, I felt like it was very toxic. So I didn't from a lot of people that did chemo, people don't have a good quality of life to
Hmm.
me. So I just didn't want to put my son, and we did. I did. I'm not gonna say I didn't do chemo because we did. Like at one point, I they gave me like the medicine and stuff. I'm like, okay, of course, I'm gonna try to do everything that I can for my son. And they gave me the medicine for my son. When they gave me the medicine for my son, I had to put on gloves. I had to put on a gown. I had to put on a mask. I had to put on goggles. And to me, uh, in that moment that I had to do that, I'm like, here I am trying to protect myself from all of this, but I'm going to give this to my son to put in his body.
Like clearly, I'm sorry, guys. Like that just said a lot. If you have to suit up and go through all those measures, but then put that in your child's system,
Right.
that right there, I mean, that's just crazy. Like,
Yeah.
and then even the fact that you said they gave you the meds, so which says that medicine I know has come a long way. I battled cancer myself, ovarian cancer. And it's funny when I went through chemotherapy, I was just in the hospital and I was, attached to bags, which at the time I didn't even know chemo. I didn't even really know what it meant. I was only 19 at the time. And so, but now you literally can go home with a pill or
Yes.
whatever form that they gave you this in. So, what form of medicine was majored, which were you giving him? That couldn't have been just a pill.
It was a pill. It was a pill, but it was the capsule. So you had to take the pill apart and it turns into powder. And I had to put it into like apple juice for him.
But you have to
And
stop and do all of the, it's that toxic.
that toxic. Yeah.
And then I'm supposed, but we all know that chemo kills good cells as
And
well. Like,
exactly.
but like you said, the quality of life, it's like a lot of people, because of chemo, they're like, you know what, just let me go. Especially when you
Yeah.
do it already. It's like, I don't want the chemo because the time that I have left, I'm going to be spent sick as hell.
Right, exactly. And I didn't want that for my son. I did the radiation because, like I said, they said it kills the cells. And the only thing about that was he lost his hair at one point from going through radiation. And there was like to us, it looked like burns on his body, but to him, he couldn't feel it, you know. But as far as like his quality, he didn't really deteriorate or anything like that or like have bad days with that. So I was okay with that.
Exactly.
Had my son had bad days with that, I probably wouldn't have did that either.
What does healing look like for you today?
Um, I just try to take it a day at a time, honestly. Um,
That's a good.
the thing about grief is there's always triggers. There's could be music, there could be smells, there could be like for me, it's sometimes seeing other kids, before I got a new job, my old job used to be across from a daycare. And just seeing like little kids outside playing, my friends' kids, like I have two friends that they're the same age as Major. So sometimes seeing their kids, is a trigger. But I take it a day at a time. I take it a day at a time. I try to make sure that I take care of myself. I do a lot of self. care things now for myself to make sure that I'm in a good headspace. Um, Meditation, reading books, going for walks, going to the beach, things like just different things like that. I do have days where I look at videos and pictures of my son and it gets me emotional. But for the most part, for most of it, I can look at pictures and videos of him and laugh because his personality was so big. It was so big. And just my son being so young and living the life that he lived, that God was able to provide for us. Because I was 18 when I had my first son, but I was 28 when I had Major.
Yeah.
So by that time I bought a house for, my boys and had a good job and I was able to take care of them and different things like that. So I was able to do a lot for my kids. Like I said, I quit my job. I remember one time my old job when I was working there at the time, and I was a assistant manager, and wanted to take my kids to this was the year after Major's first surgery. So he was 2. And I wanted to take them on a Christmas trip, and my job told me that I couldn't take they told me I couldn't go. They told me I couldn't take the time because I had already used up my time. Mind you, my son was, sick and stuff like that. I did have FMLA, would take days off and stuff like that. But they told me I couldn't go because it was Christmas time, and I work in the car business, so
Okay.
sales around Christmas time is really busy, and they told me I couldn't go.
Good.
It's like, okay.
Think I'm not gonna go.
I called out and I took my kids on a trip, and we had went to Orlando, and um I can't think of what the hotel is called. Um I can't think of what it's called right now, but it's a hotel and they do like a winter theme, and they do like sledding and my kids had never seen snow at this point,
Right.
but they do like sleds and you can go through like this ice
Yeah.
museum and all kinds of stuff. So we went there, and the Gaylord, that's what it's called. The Gaylord Hotel in Orlando.
Yeah.
And they do it, I think they do it every year. But I had took my kids, and it's things like that that I thank God that I did,
Mhm.
because had I not done those things for my son, or had I not, you know, if I cared too much about my job, I wouldn't have had that time with my son. So those are the things that I appreciate, and I'm thankful to God, because for me being a mom and losing my son, like, that would have ate me up.
Yeah.
Those type of things would have ate me up, not spending that time with my son and not making sure that he had a good life. And um and as parents, we're just trying to provide for our kids. Like, we just want to provide, we have to work, we got to provide for them, we got to pay our bills and those things. But I just thank God that during this process that I was taken care of. And at one point I didn't have a job. So I didn't know how my bills were going to get paid, but I also didn't care how my bills were going to get paid, because at the time I just wanted my son to be better. I just wanted him to be okay. I didn't care about my house. I didn't care about my job. I didn't care about my car, you know, because you go through those things and it's easy for you to it, become homeless. It's easy for bills to get piled up. It's easy for those things to happen, but I didn't care. I just wanted my baby to be better. I just wanted to get treatment for him. I just wanted to get him healed. And I didn't know how those things were going to get done. And I also didn't care, because my son was more important to me. I can get another house,
Yep.
get another car.
Mm.
I couldn't replace my son though.
Yep. And
So,
I commend you. I mean, truly commend you for that because, I mean, you made memories, and that was more important. we know, that we got to pay bills. I mean,
Right.
somebody else may feel another way about you doing that, but I would, I promise you, I would be right where you were. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't care about none of that in the moment. I'll worry about that later. I want to make these memories and make sure that my child is happy with the time that they have left here. So I
Right.
commend you as a mother. I feel that like listening to you talk, you did everything the right way. I'm not saying I wasn't there. Just according to
Yeah.
what you said, I wouldn't have done anything different than what you did. And it doesn't mean my way is the right way, but I don't care. I feel exactly
Right.
with you.
Right.
Every decision you made and
And that's the thing, people try to, oh, well, I would have did this and that. You don't know what you would do in that situation until time comes and you have to make a decision.
I promise you, that is such a huge statement right there. The other Dominique, who her son Kylan passed away, and we talked about that right there. Like you don't know what you will do. You
No.
say what you will do when you're not faced with it. Has anyone ever said anything like, or how do you feel if someone has ever said to you, "Oh, I know how you feel. I lost my mother, or I lost my brother." How do you feel about that, the comparison?
Um, not people that I know per se, but people like on social media and things like that. But majority of people are like, I don't know how that feel. Like I've lost my mom or I've lost someone, but I don't know how it feels to lose a child. Like losing a child is on a whole totally different scale. And I lost my grandma. So I lost my grandma the year before I lost my son. And my grandma raised me. So that took a toll on me. And that was very hard for me because I was 33 when my grandma passed away. My grandma been in my life my whole life.
Yeah.
She's been in my life my whole life. And I've lived with my grandma. My grandma raised me. So that was hard for me. So then when my son passed away, and then ironically, when my grandma passed away, the same month that my grandma passed away is when my son started getting sick again. And I told my grandma, I said, you can't have him. You can't.
Oh,
And
that's like,
she got him. She
oh,
got him. Because my grandma was so protective over him. Like I was my grandma's baby. My oldest son, my grandma kept him and she kept him while I was at work and stuff like that. And he was spoiled.
yeah.
But when Major came along, my grandma was in her late 70s.
Mhm.
Um, she listen, my grandma didn't want him to go to school. She didn't want Major to go to school. She didn't like he had all these toys at her house.
Oh,
She didn't want my nieces and nephews playing with his toys. Like she was that protective over him.
it's your baby.
That was her baby. And honestly, I tell people all the time, like I had my grandma's soulmate. I think everybody has a soulmate in life. And I feel like I had her soulmate for her
That's what's up.
because he literally had the same spirit as my grandma. And I would call them and I'd be like, what y'all doing? Oh, we eating. Or, we sitting here, he playing with his toys. I would call from work and I'd be like, what are y'all doing? She's like, oh, we in Walmart. Been in Walmart for 2 hours on the toy aisle. Let him look for a toy.
Poured into him. That's
He was right. He was right. And my grandma, me and my grandma, like my grandma, I was her baby. But when it came down to him,
you don't compare.
she didn't care about nobody. She didn't care about nothing. Even if my grandma was going out of town, because um she lived by herself. Well, my some of my auntie and my cousin lived with her, but no, she didn't have any obligations.
Yeah.
But when it came to him, she would call me if she was going out of town or something, and she would be like, well, I'm thinking about going out of town. Like, what you gonna do? Who's gonna keep Major? And I was like, oh, well, I'll ask his daddy or I'll ask his grandma. She'd be like, oh no, never mind. I ain't going. I'm staying. I'm nope. You just bring him on over here. I'm like, the
Yeah,
other people can keep him. She's like, nope, because I don't know. They might not treat him right. I'm like, it's his family, like his grandma. Like she's like, nope, because if he cried, then no, they might let him cry. And I'm like, oh,
Oh, I know
okay.
that's right. She was on
She
and
was.
top of it. But that is true. I mean, some people, everybody raised their kids different. I can't really take my kid, and people think that you should let them sometimes, but I'm sorry, these
Mhm.
are mine, and I'm going to do what I feel. So
Right,
I can
right,
kind of understand her, and I'm in a sense like that about my daughters. But
yeah,
I was real close to my grandmother like that, so I definitely can understand her being like that about him. It's like
yeah.
so
Yeah,
funny.
I was really close to my grandma. I slept in the bed with my grandma till I was like 14, 15.
That was you. That was normal for Major. It was you too. So I mean, you were sleeping with your grandma.
Listen, my grandma had a boyfriend when I was younger, and I used to try to sleep in the bed. My mom was like, "You are not sleeping in the bed with him." I'm like, "Well, he need to leave
You
then,
gotta go.
cause."
Oh, you were one of those. You were one. He better get out the bed because this is mine.
Mhm. Right. So when it came down to him, I remember one time, um, it was after he had surgery and after he had to go through like therapy, because again, he had to like, go through therapy so he can start back using his legs and walking and stuff like that. And he was turning 4. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna enroll him in school because he needs to start being around other kids and stuff like that. And my grandma was like, no, he don't need to go to school. I'm like, he old enough. He's old enough to go to school. Like he needs to start learning and stuff. Which again, my baby was very smart, very smart. I mean, I'm like, but he still need to be around other kids. He need to learn. And she was like, no, he don't. I'm like, yes, he do. Me and my grandma literally got in an argument because
I
I
was gonna
told her
say it
he need to
sounded
go
like
to school.
an argument about to come.
And then she said, I said, Mom, he gotta. I call her mom. I'm like, Mom, he has to go to school. She's like, no, he don't. I was like, you can barely walk. Like my grandma, she had a sciatica, so her
Okay.
back would be hurting and stuff like that. But she would still try to carry him. And Major was like 50, 60 pounds.
I know that's right.
Um, and she was still trying to carry him. I'm like, you can't, like he got to go to school. You can't really take care of him like that. You got sciatica. Your back hurts sometimes. She got so angry. She said, "Don't you count me out? Don't you count?" I was like, ma'am, he has to go to school.
That is funny. But I'm
Yes.
he got that. I mean, even that he's gone now, like those are memories that, even if it was frustrating in that moment, sometimes it's like those are the things that like you and I are doing. We sitting back
Right.
about those memories now, like those
Right. Exactly.
you keep close to your heart about her and him.
And I think about that a lot. I think it's gonna sound weird, but knowing that my grandma is also in heaven, I know that my baby's taken care of. Like there is, listen, there is absolutely
Yeah, I,
nothing.
I don't even like it's crazy because when you're a believer, like you are, that that is like perfect. Your grandmother, like they say, your grandmother went up there and made a place for
It
him.
made a place for him. Right. Right. And I have this picture. I have this picture of them, and my grandma was holding him, and he was maybe like 5, 6 months, 7 months probably at the most, and she was holding him. And I had a dream one night, and it was after um, Major passed away, so they were both passed. They were both gone at this point, and it's a picture of them. And I had a dream that we were like at this big mansion, and then my grandma was sitting on the side of the pool, kind of like in the shaded patio area, and she was holding him. And I said, I'm sure that's exactly how it is right now. She's probably holding him and letting him play with his toys. Because my grandma, she had like a California king bed, and literally one side of the bed had all Major toys on the bed. And she would sleep on one side of the bed, and all his toys would just be on the bed. So when he came over there, he could just get in the bed with her and just play with all his toys on the bed. And she would never move them.
That's love. Nobody else better not do
No, nobody better not move
it.
them either.
And that's
You
where she
better
wanted. Right?
exactly,
I can only imagine.
exactly.
Because when elderly people do stuff like that and it's their babies, you better not
Mhm.
touch
You
nothing
better not touch it.
where I
You better not touch it.
got.
My nieces and nephews would come over there and take, and she'd be like, "Don't, put that toy down. That's Major toy." And I'm like, "They could play with that toy. Major has plenty of toys. I'll actually show you Major's room, um, but he has plenty of toys. Like he,
Yeah, that's
trust me, that was one of the things I did because my son couldn't move around a lot. Um, I bought him toys because that's what he loved. So I'll show you his room.
I mean, you did all.
It's let me see if I could turn this around. This is a picture of him when he was 1. And this is right before we found out something was wrong with him. You could see he had walking. He already knew how to walk, but we put walking shoes on him because we thought he was having a problem like walking. So my grandma bought him some more walking shoes.
Remember those hard things. Don't get kicked.
Yeah. And then this is like a about me, like chalkboard. It was when I bought it when he was 3. His favorite hobby was cooking, and he liked the Johnny Johnny song. He said his favorite color was purple.
The kids call Johnny Johnny. I remember that.
I know. These are my 2 friends. My best friends are Zayden and King. One of these is my friend's son, and then his brother on his dad's side. It's his best friends. And then these are his toys. Some of his toys are
Such a boys' room.
super superheroes and all kinds of stuff. I had these painted, put on his wall. My uncle drew these.
Oh, that's some good artwork too. Captain America. So he like, what is that's the Avengers.
Yeah, Avengers. Yeah, he likes superheroes, and then he got into like dinosaurs. These are some Forrests, like the last pair of shoes that I bought him.
So you still have his room is that's all like I wouldn't have wanted to leave.
Yeah. You would think, right? I did all this and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll make his room cute so he'll sleep in it. No.
It was
Still
you.
didn't still didn't sleep in
Still
here.
slept with you, right? That don't
Still
mean
slept with
I
me.
just want to go in here to play, but it's sleep with you. So he got his
Here's,
dinosaurs right there. Oh, go
here's obituary. His obituary.
when I tell y'all guys, when I tell you he was a chocolate cutie, when I saw because that's what prompted me, to invite you because of course I, saw that he had passed away and it of course
Yeah.
hard to hear that. And I'm like, he is so cute. His room.
I still have some of his clothes. I gave away most of his shoes because shoes they rot.
Yeah.
So I gave away most of them. Um Picture of him. These are little um the yard stick things that you can put in the yard.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
I yeah, but I put them on. These are like some of them that I put on his grave whenever like his birthday comes and stuff. See his toy box. So there's plenty of toys in here.
He's everywhere you go. It's toy right there.
Now I will lift it up, but it's gonna move. Look, still a whole bunch of toys in here.
Oh, and there are probably a bunch of more action figures and stuff.
A bunch of action figures. And
Plus,
then my family has some of his toys, like just as memories, but
so
yeah.
what do you? So with that right there, you not and I promise you, I'm not saying touch a hair. I wouldn't dare. Why do you leave his room as is? What does that do for you?
um, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I'm at that point where I'm ready to let. I think I would feel like I'm letting him go, and I'm not at that point yet.
I can
I'm
understand.
not, I'm not I'm not in that place to where I can. Like, I do want to buy another home, and I told my oldest son this is his home. So whenever I do buy another home, I probably will, um, change his room and maybe give his stuff away. But as of right now, like I'm not ready to change it. And
I can understand that too. Like I definitely can understand that. And in a sense, it's crazy because And not, I don't mean that literally crazy. It's, but like to get rid of that stuff is in a sense like he's gone, and I,
Right.
like he's gone, but to get rid of that is like more of a
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
It's,
Like now I'm making it official.
yeah, it's like it's all of the physical things that he had. This is like concrete that he is gone.
Right.
He
Right.
is not getting rid of that yet, and I do understand that in a sense of because grieving has no timeline. We have to do things when in our time.
You're ready. Right. When you're ready.
Because as talking to you, I can tell you haven't stopped living. It's,
Yeah.
that's not a hump that you're ready to cross yet, or a bridge that you're ready to cross. And
Right.
I can understand that.
Yeah, sometimes I go in my sunroom and people always say they visit their spirits visit and stuff like that. And sometimes I go in there and I'm like, I wonder if something's gonna be moved to where I can see like he's been here or, different things like that. So
Yeah.
sometimes I go in there when I'm having a rough day and I'll sit in there and sometimes I've even laid in his bed and I'm very particular about people going in his room and touching his things and laying in his bed because I haven't. He still has dirty clothes in his basket. I haven't washed his clothes. I haven't changed his bed. I haven't done any of that. So I'm very particular about people going in there.
Yeah. And I definitely can understand as much as I can understand. Let me say
Yeah,
that. Been through it.
yeah,
Makes sense to me. Like, and everything, like not washing the laundry, like
yeah.
all of that, like it makes sense to me. And I definitely can understand not touching any of those things and being particular about it. What would you leave behind, or what would be a message that you would leave behind for any parent, mother or father? So I don't
Mhm.
just want to say to the mothers because I heard her mention his dad. So I'm pretty sure that he has been affected by the passing of
Yeah.
well. And to you, sir,
Yeah.
have my condolences too. Don't
Thank you.
keep our fathers out, because there's some good dads out there. Uh, what would you leave behind to mothers who may be going through something similar with their child, or who has lost a child that cannot find their way?
I would tell them to take it a day at a time, one day at a time, and to really kind of focus on yourself, you know, mentally, especially like mentally do the things that brings peace to you because when you lose someone, especially a child, it's hard to do that because you don't have any sense of or will of wanting to live sometimes or wanting to even have fun.
Yeah.
That's hard because you feel like you feel so you feel guilty. Like you feel guilty for living, you feel guilty for having fun. And that was a hard thing for me at first because it's like how can I be, you know, having fun and laughing and I just had to bury my son, and people judge you for that. People do judge you.
I
And
believe
they're like, how is she doing this and how is she doing that? And but you got to take it one day at a time and you got to do what's best for you, not for anyone else. Even having kids and a spouse and, you know, a soulmate or whatever, like you have to do what you feel is best for you. Because at the end of the day, when the lights go off, when nobody's around, it's going to be you and you.
I completely
It's
agree.
going to be you.
Yep.
So, for me, I would say pray and, ask for guidance. I did that before my son passed away. I asked God to give me peace was one of the things that I said, no matter God, what happens, you knew the plans that you have for me. You know the plans that you have for him. You gave him to me. We want to be selfish and we say selfish, but it's because we love. It's our baby. So we want to be selfish and hold on to him, but God gave them to us and he already had a timeline for their purpose and how long they were going to be here on earth. And honestly, My baby personality was too big for this world. Like the love, like literally, I tell people all the time, like he Major was an angel on earth. Like God sent an angel here on earth because he taught us, like me and my family talk about all the time, my friends too. We talk about how a little body
Mhm.
went through so much stuff. But if you ever saw my son or if you ever talked to him, you would never know that he went through so much. You would never know. You would never know he had 5 brain surgeries. You would never know he had 2 spinal surgeries. You would never know he went through radiation
Yeah.
because he was always so content with whatever he was doing. He was always so content and always so happy. Now, don't get me wrong, he set his boundaries. Like if he said he don't want to talk to you,
It was he meant that.
he meant he didn't want to talk to you. So I was just talking to my friend yesterday and I said, Major would you would sit next to my son and you'd be like, "Hey Major, how you doing?" He'd be like, "I don't want to talk."
People, hey,
And
it is.
you would sit there and people would sit there and be like, Major, look at this, I got this. And he'd be like literally scrolling on his iPad. He'd be looking at his iPad, looking, watching whatever he watched. You could be sitting next to him, talking to him. You would think nobody's sitting next to him talking to him. 'Cause he don't make eye contact. He don't turn his head. He would just be sitting there watching his iPad, tuning you out, tuning you completely out. Like I said, I didn't want to talk. So
Get
why
that
are you talking to me?
pushing it, and
And you could say, um, Major, oh, taste this. This tastes so good. No, I don't like it. But it tastes so good. No, I don't like it.
no, that's right.
He was so little but had such a big personality and he already knew who he was at 5 years old.
So,
Mhm. What he said he meant. And even me myself, like he taught me to not to sweat the small things because we get so bogged up in life and we let small things disappoint us and make us unhappy and you get cut off in traffic and you're having a bad moment. Now you got to turn into a bad day because you let that small thing turn into a big thing and now it's a whole day of anger and then now it turned into a week of anger because you let it just keep on just making you angry and now you kind of put the energy out in the universe and then now you're attracting all the bad things. So now it's like, people always say, oh, when one bad thing happened and now it's a triple effect or a trifecta or whatever. And it's like, no, you're thinking that.
and so be it. Because if you think it and you invite it in with your thoughts, then it
Right.
comes to fruition. So that
Right.
is true. That's why we're supposed to, do our best to think positive. And I think those are really, really good points that you hit, especially when talking about Major and how he, kept pushing through
He did.
what he was going through. So
And even so my older son and my baby, like when I would drop them off at school or sometimes when we were praying, like I would just make them recite, I'm powerful. I'm of God. God loves me. I'm a son of God. I'm untouchable. I'm just speaking those words of affirmations every day to tell yourself and to tell the universe, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to tolerate because what you put out is what you attract. So I would tell him every day, and I am gonna create a TikTok. TikTok wasn't really a thing when I was going through this with Major,
was my next
and
question too.
yeah,
Made you share that. So continue. I'm sorry.
yeah. I will. So I am gonna create just a page about him, and I do post on my page, and I post videos here and there, of him and stuff like that. Because I do want to share with the world my baby, my son that was given to me. I do want to share him with the world. I feel like he was such a bright light. And just especially for moms and for parents that have lost their kids, sometimes, like you said, we don't know how to continue living.
Yep. Yep.
So I want to share, what I do to help me. And then, maybe give people a little bit of light to see the at the end of the tunnel to where it's like, okay, I still can live. I still can do this. I still can love. I still can take care of myself. I still can, you know, do all these things. I don't have to be sad. I don't have to be in the house. I don't have to because those things are what make you those things are what allows the devil to come in because we feel like, oh, I'm sad, I'm grieving, I'm this, I'm that, and then he comes in and then he just tell us, oh, talk to us and tell us all the bad things. You lost your baby. Oh yeah, you're depressed now. You're stressed out. Oh no, you can't take care of yourself. Just those things.
Sure. It is so true. And I truly hope that you do that because, I mean, I saw you. And although I'm one person, sometimes that's all it takes, is to, if it can help one person.
Right,
And it's amazing how, Major's passing can help someone through anything. Like just
right,
even you, I mean, even you still taking care of yourself. I think you said something important earlier, mentally, because our body reacts off of our mental. And
right.
so I pray that you keep sharing his story, sharing yourself with the world. I know that you're helping people doing that. And so, because I haven't seen you post a lot, but it's funny. But what you did have up there really, really resonated with me because I'm particular about who I invite,
Yeah, yeah.
please keep doing what you're doing and
Thank you.
sharing him with the world because he had a huge personality that the
Yeah.
we know who this guy is because he was a strong little guy.
He was. He was. And my friend, like even I before I did do TikTok, on my social media, I used to post when he was going through his stages of whatever. I would post him. And even my social media friends now, they still write me and they'll be like, I was thinking about Major and that baby had such a big personality. And people even tell me like I'm a grown adult, but looking at your son showed me how to still live. It showed me how to, be content. It showed me how to keep going. It showed me how to press on. And I was like, he a little baby.
Yeah.
He's 5. But he listen, it's unexplainable. That's why I said I am gonna share him with the world just so people can see what I'm talking about. And literally I have thousands of videos and pictures of my son just talking and being funny. And I rarely have any videos of him crying. If he was crying, it was because we went to 3 stores and I didn't buy him a toy out of each store.
Because of what
those,
you're going through.
those are those are the things that he cried about. But he never really cried. Like I um even being in the hospital, his nurses would go shopping for him. And they're not supposed to do that. They would go shop for him. They would come in the room and one of his nurses came in. She said, I'm not his nurse today. She was like, but I had to come in here. I had to feel this baby's energy because his energy is gonna get me through this day. She was like, he is such a testimony. She was like, Mom, that baby is precious. And for me, it's like, even though I went through what I went through with Major, that also let me see that was God. That was God. That was a 2, 3 year old baby. But he showed people, grown adults, not to sweat the small stuff. Showing us how to continue living, show us how to be happy, show me how to be affectionate and be loving and be caring. And those are the things that I remember about my baby. Those are the memories that I have of him. So that's what keeps me going. And most days, like I said, I don't cry is because watching videos of my son, his personality was so big and he was always happy and he was always laughing and he was so content with what he was doing that it wasn't really any bad times for him.
Love that. And please keep sharing his story with. So she's going to keep going because she done told us
Yes, yes, I am.
with the world. So share all of your social media information so that
Okay.
to find you.
Okay. I will.
Go for it. Go.
So my name on Facebook is Miss Erica Renee. My Erica is spelled Ericka, Renee Renee. And then my Instagram is black_beauty E.
That's right,
And
right.
then TikTok is Miss Erica Renee as well. And it's MSERICKARENEE.
Guys, go support her. I mean, you already can feel her energy. I hope from here, I sure can. I mean, got a friend in me. Yeah, and I want to thank you so much for joining me and accepting my invite. I do have one last question before I let you go for the afternoon. Will you promise to always spread peace and love in this world?
I will.
Thank you so much. We need more of that.
God don't make mistakes, you know. I've never done the interview. But I'm so glad that you reached out to me, and I definitely thank you as well for inviting me to talk about my son. Um so I really appreciate that, and I hope you do the same as well. I hope you continue spreading love and peace in the world and your energy because it's needed. You know, it is needed. So, thank you again.
Of course, you're very welcome.
They stop